Welcome, everyone. Today we're really getting into something foundational, a perspective on success that, well, it turns a lot of common ideas completely on their head. We've got some powerful source material here, all focused on spiritual advice, but also, really actionable life wisdom. It all centers on this one core idea.
That's right. The idea of Taqwa.
Exactly, Taqwa. True piety, that consciousness of God, and how achieving it isn't just a spiritual goal, it's presented as like the master key.
The master key that opens the doors to divine help, yes, and potentially solves, well, even the biggest problems we think we face.
Okay, so to really get ourselves in the right frame of mind for this deep dive, we absolutely have to start the way our sources tell us to. It's about honoring the principles right from the outset.
The proper beginning.
Precisely. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. We start by acknowledging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of everything, and sending our deepest praise. And, the sources really emphasize spending time on his attributes. It's critical to understanding what follows.
It really is foundational. We're reminded he is the all-near. I mean, closer than our own jugular vein, as the description goes.
Wow.
And he's the all-hearing. Every single sound, every word spoken, even a whisper, it's all registered. And maybe most importantly for this discussion, he is the all-knowing, knowing every thought, every glance, every secret hidden deep within the heart.
That idea, the all-knowing of what's in the heart. It's quite something. Comforting in a way, but also deeply humbling, isn't it?
It is, because it means there's absolutely nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
It just underscores that Allah witnesses everything,
Yeah.
everywhere, all the time. And because of that, all our actions, the public ones, the private ones, they're meticulously recorded.
And they'll be repaid justly.
Exactly. Justly. No confusion in the account, no mistakes, no way to, bargain your way out of it. And this accountability, this constant awareness, leads directly to the main idea we're exploring.
Which is?
That life, all of it, is an ujian, a test.
Life is a test. Okay, so if you accept that premise, your whole focus has to shift, right? It's not about seeking constant comfort anymore.
It becomes about seeking competence in the test itself.
Competence in the test. I like that. So this deep dive is basically our map. We're trying to uncover what real success looks like, measured by that ultimate divine standard.
And crucially, how we access the solutions we need to actually pass that test. Okay, so first things first. The world, generally speaking, has a pretty clear definition of success, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's usually about hitting certain targets: money, title, status, influence.
Popularity, rank, position, all those external markers.
Right.
But our sources, they challenge that head on. They basically say you can have all of that, every single worldly achievement, and still be completely unsuccessful in Allah's eyes.
That requires a major shift in thinking, especially today, with society being so focused on productivity, materialism, constantly accumulating stuff.
It's a total paradigm shift.
So, if success isn't about what we get, what is it about then?
According to the Islamic definition we're exploring, success is, it's entirely qualitative, internal. It's measured by what happens because of the blessings you receive.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
Right, so it means any gift from Allah, maybe it's a promotion, maybe a lot of wealth, a university degree, even just good health. If that gift only serves to make you more taqwa, more conscious of Allah, more obedient, then it's a success.
Ah, I see. The measure is spiritual growth, not the thing itself.
Exactly. Spiritual elevation is the achievement, not the material gain.
That's actually a beautiful way to measure things. So let's say my high-paying job. If it helps me be more grateful, maybe more charitable, more mindful of my duties to God, then okay, that job is a success for me. But if that same job makes me arrogant or too busy for my prayers, neglectful, then even though the world calls it success, spiritually, it's actually a failure.
You've absolutely hit the nail on the head. That's precisely the application. And this connects directly to that core verse, the one that sort of sets the constitution for honor in this framework.
You mean, inna akramakum Allahi atqakum?
Yes. Indeed, the most honorable among you in the sight of Allah is the one who is most pious, the one with the highest level of taqwa. Honor comes from spiritual commitment, period, not worldly status.
Okay, so if taqwa is the real measure, we need to spend some serious time defining it properly.
Yeah.
It gets translated as piety or God consciousness, but the sources seem to suggest it's much more active than that.
Oh, absolutely. It's very practical. The sources break it down into, three connected components. First, there's utmost conviction, real yaqin, an unwavering, absolute belief in and reliance on Allah. That's the foundation.
The intellectual and spiritual bedrock.
Right. Then second comes obedience to Allah's commands. This is where conviction becomes action. You're actually doing what you know is right.
Okay.
And the third part, just as important, is the earnest effort to avoid everything Allah dislikes. Everything he finds displeasing. This is the protective side, the self-restraint.
So it sounds like a feedback loop almost. If my conviction, my yaqeen, is really strong, then I'd naturally be more enthusiastic about doing the good things like prayer or giving charity.
Yes.
And at the same time, that strong conviction gives me the strength to stay away from the bad stuff, the things that displease him.
Precisely.
So is that distance itself the act of avoiding? Is that also part of taqwa?
It absolutely is. The stronger your inner conviction, the less pull sin has on you. You naturally create more distance. And that distance, that kind of protective shield you build through obedience and restraint, that is taqwa in action.
Okay.
And it's the spiritual strength, this taqwa, where the sources tell us the real power lies. The power to solve all those problems life throws at us.
Okay, so if taqwa is the foundation, the sources then introduce this immediate, almost dramatic reward for achieving it, this divine guarantee, the master key you mentioned earlier.
Yes, the promise. وَاتَّقِيَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا, which means whoever has taqwa, for them Allah makes a way out. A way out from any problem, any difficulty.
Wow, a way out from any problem. That's huge.
It is perhaps the most crucial promise in all this advice we're looking at because, you see, it forces a complete shift in how we think about cause and effect.
How so?
Well, we're usually trained to think, okay, I have a problem, so I need to find the solution using my intelligence, my experience, my contacts, my effort.
Right, the human approach.
The human approach.
Yeah.
But the sources say, no, hang on, all problems, every single one, only happen because Allah allows them to happen.
Okay, with his permission.
With his permission.
Yeah.
Therefore, the solution must reside entirely with him. He holds the keys. So if Allah, the ultimate source of all solutions, decides to keep a door closed,
Then it doesn't matter how smart I am or who I know.
Right. Exactly. Your competence, your impressive resume, your huge network, your brilliant plan, none of it matters if the divine permission isn't there. Without that divine opening, everything just becomes difficult, stuck.
So the big realization is, no problem is actually too complex for Allah.
Never.
But our focus shouldn't be on attacking the problem directly.
No.
It should be on tackling whatever barrier is between us and Allah's help.
You've got it. And that leads to a really quite stunning conclusion when you think about it.
Which is?
The real problem we face in life isn't actually the thing we see. It's not the massive debt or the difficult family situation or the chronic health issue.
Okay.
The biggest challenge, the fundamental challenge, is whether we are serious, truly dedicated, and consistent about becoming ahli taqwa. Experts in piety.
Experts in piety.
That's the only variable we actually have full control over.
This completely reframes personal responsibility, doesn't it? So if I'm worried about, say, my marriage, the first step isn't necessarily couples therapy, although that might have a place.
It might, but the primary focus
Is making sure my own personal connection with God, my taqwa, is solid.
That's the engine driving the solution.
Yeah.
The source gives a very clear example. If a husband truly wants a righteous wife, a salaha wife,
Yes.
his main job, his first priority, is to focus on becoming the most righteous husband, salah, he can possibly be.
Okay. You focus on yourself first.
Always. If parents desperately want pious children, they first have to strive with everything they've got to be pious parents themselves. We can't change other people's hearts or behavior. Only Allah can do that.
Right.
Our entire responsibility as humans is to achieve that worthiness, the taqwa, that makes us deserving of Allah's intervention to bring about the change we desire.
That worthiness is the catalyst.
Yeah.
Okay. And this must apply especially when people feel totally crushed by the scale of a problem, like huge financial debt. You hear people talking about owing millions or even, trillions in some context.
And the panic sets in.
Exactly. Panic.
But those numbers only seem large because we're measuring them against our own limitations.
Right.
Against our empty bank account or our short human lifespan.
Sure.
The sources tell us, pull back. Look at the bigger picture. Allah owns the heavens and the earth. He owns the very fabric of existence. So any human debt, whether it's $10 or $10 trillion, is utterly, completely insignificant in his sight.
So the worry itself is misplaced.
The worry stems from relying on our own means. When we achieve taqwa, we're plugging into the owner of all means. So the advice is, don't obsess about the size of the debt. Obsess about the quality of your conviction and the depth of your taqwa.
And a way out, the makhraja.
Yeah.
It might not be what we expect.
Probably not. It might not be a sudden windfall. It could be a moment of clarity that helps you make a crucial decision. Or a completely unexpected opportunity for work, or maybe just the lifting of that crushing worry which frees up your mind to actually function properly and find a solution.
So the solution is guaranteed, but the method is Allah's choice.
Precisely. The guarantee is the way out. The how is up to him.
Okay, so if taqwa is the key to getting that divine help, the next big question is obvious. How do we actually do it? How do we increase our taqwa in a practical, day-to-day way?
Right. It can't just be theory.
And the sources point to a really foundational hadith here, a principle for practical self-improvement. Min husni islamil mari tarku malayakani.
Yes, a very powerful statement. It translates roughly as, a sign of the quality of a person's Islam is leaving matters that are of no benefit. Or, simply put, leaving behind the useless.
Leaving the useless. It sounds so simple.
Deceptively simple.
Because it acts like a spiritual filter, right?
No.
It asks us to constantly check everything we do, say, even think.
Everything. Actions, words, thoughts. Filter it all through this lens. Is this useful for my hereafter? Does it bring me closer to Allah? Or is it just
noise?
Waste?
Which, let's be honest, in modern life with constant distractions, applying that filter consistently feels like a massive undertaking.
It is. It requires real discipline.
So where do we start? What are the main areas we need to scrutinize with this uselessness filter?
The sources say, begin with the mind, the pikiran. Our thoughts use up a huge amount of mental energy.
Okay.
The classic example given is worrying about stuff that's just not our business. Like obsessing over the details of a neighbor's new car. How did they afford it? What's the down payment? Are they paying installments?
Right, that mental calculation that goes nowhere good.
Exactly. It produces zero spiritual benefit. Often, it just breeds envy or comparison or judgment. It's a complete mental drain. Total waste of energy.
And in today's world, useless thoughts probably look like, what? Constantly replaying arguments in your head, worrying about things you can't control, endless scrolling through social media feeds, just absorbing random information.
All of that. Dwelling on hypotheticals, getting sucked into online drama that has nothing to do with you. It's just noise consuming your headspace.
So beneficial thoughts, then, would be things that actively build spiritual capital.
Precisely. Things like increasing your remembrance of Allah zikrullah, or actively seeking useful knowledge ilmu, things that actually nourish the soul.
So the moment we catch our mind drifting into that useless territory, the neighbor's car, the online argument, whatever, we have to consciously, actively pivot.
You have to. Think of your mind like a garden. Every second you spend letting weeds grow those useless thoughts is a second you're not planting something beneficial. Flowers, fruits, something good.
It's a good analogy.
And this same discipline applies immediately when dealing with negative emotions, like feeling insulted or unfairly treated.
Okay, so instead of spiraling into anger or plotting revenge, which is definitely useless thinking.
Definitely useless and often harmful.
The person striving for taqwa uses the filter. How?
Instead of fixating on the person who insulted you, their flaws, what you want to say back to them, which is just feeding negativity, you ask different questions. Questions like, okay, did Allah allow this to happen? Yes. So, what good, what lesson is hidden in this pain for me?
Shifting the focus inward.
Entirely inward. Maybe Allah is teaching me how much insults hurt, so I become more careful with my own words. Or perhaps this small hurt is actually an expiation, a wiping away of some past sin I committed, maybe when I insulted someone else.
Right.
You focus on the command, wa yafu wa yasahu, forgive and pardon. You try to extract the spiritual benefit, the lesson that helps you refine yourself, gain more self-control. That is taqwa, managing the self in real time.
Okay, so leaving the useless helps clear the path, removes the static. But the central active pillar for building and maintaining taqwa has to be the prayer, right? The salat.
Without a doubt, it's the cornerstone.
And the source material makes a really important distinction here, something about the language used. It says we need to differentiate between mengerjakan salat and mendirikan salat.
Yes, that distinction is absolutely paramount. Mengerjakan means just sort of doing it, performing the actions, going through the motions.
Okay.
Whereas mendirikan means establishing it, upholding it, doing it with care, attention, consistency, and understanding its importance.
And Allah warns against just doing it carelessly.
Very clearly. When describing the truly righteous, the mutakin, in Surah Al-Baqarah, one of their key characteristics is believing in the unseen and establishing prayer, yuqimuna salah.
Establishing it.
But then you have Surah Al-Ma'un, which gives that terrifying warning. So woe to those who pray, but who are heedless of their prayer. So it's not about whether you pray, but how you pray. the quality, the commitment, that's what reflects your true spiritual state.
Okay, quality and commitment. But even before we get to the quality during the prayer, the sources mention something about the preparation, the mindset before it. They highlight the sequence in the Quran. Wastano bishobi washola. Seek help through patience and prayer. Patience, sabr, comes first. Why is that sequence so important?
Because without patience, true devotion kusyuk in prayer is basically impossible. Patience is the spiritual stability you need to quiet your mind, to resist all those worldly distractions pulling at you, and to actually stand before your Creator with presence and focus.
So if I lack patience in my daily life, if I'm constantly rushing, irritable, easily distracted,
then your prayer will likely mirror that. It'll probably be weak, rushed, maybe even abandoned altogether when things get tough. Patience is like the spiritual muscle required to hold that stillness, that focus needed for sincere worship.
that makes sense. Patience enables devotion. Okay, so this brings us to really the core of this section. The 6 specific warning signs that our prayer might be careless, signs that directly indicate weak taqwa.
And consequently might explain why we're not getting that divine help that Makraja we're looking for.
Exactly. So let's unpack these one by one. Listeners should really pay attention here. What's the first sign?
First, feeling heavy or lazy. This isn't just feeling tired sometimes. It's a consistent spiritual inertia. Finding the obligatory prayers, the fard prayers, a real struggle, a burden, and especially feeling reluctance or difficulty with the optional prayers, the rawatib, like the sunnah prayers, before Fajr or after Isha.
So if the thought of doing those extra prayers feels like climbing a mountain,
it's a strong signal. It suggests the spirit isn't getting enough nourishment. Maybe the heart is weighed down by other things, sins perhaps, or too much useless activity we just talked about.
okay, that's number 1, heaviness. What's the second?
Second, riya, showing off. This is the internal hypocrisy, a really dangerous one. It's when you start caring more about how people evaluate your prayer than how Allah evaluates it.
So maybe praying longer or making movements look more pious when others are watching.
Exactly. Or seeking praise after you give charity or do something good. If your primary concern shifts, even subtly, towards what the community thinks of your piety, rather than purely seeking Allah's acceptance, then your sincerity, your ikhlas, is compromised, and the act loses its spiritual weight.
Okay, that's critical. Number 3.
Third, delaying, just constantly putting it off. The adhan goes, the call to prayer is clear, but you think, oh, just 5 more minutes, let me finish this email. I'll do it right at the end of the time window.
We've all been there.
We have. But making it a habit indicates where your priorities lie. The sources remind us that praying on time is one of the deeds most beloved by Allah. Consistently delaying suggests we're ranking worldly tasks higher than our appointment with the divine, a clear sign of spiritual weakness.
Right. Number 4.
Fourth, rushing and lack of tumanina. This is the physical evidence of heedlessness. Zipping through the movements, the bowing, the prostrating without any sense of calm or peace. Tumanina is that moment of stillness, of composure within each posture.
It's not optional.
Absolutely not optional. It's a required part of the prayer. When we race through ruku or sujud, we're essentially shortchanging the connection itself. You simply cannot have real devotion, real kusyuk, if your body is rushing like that.
Makes sense. Physical calm enables mental focus. What's number 5?
Fifth, lack of focus or remembrance. The classic mind-wandering problem. You stand up to pray and suddenly you remember everything except Allah. Your grocery list, that argument you had, planning your weekend.
Daydreaming central.
Exactly. And a huge contributing factor here, the sources stress, is not understanding the meaning of what you're reciting. If the beautiful, powerful words of the Quran are just sounds coming out of your mouth without grasping their meaning,
How can your heart be present?
it's almost impossible. This points to the need to make an effort, a real commitment, to learn the meaning of at least the basic surahs and phrases we recite daily. We're commanded when akimi salat li dhikri, establish prayer for my remembrance. How can we remember him if we're thinking about literally everything else?
A very direct point. Okay, and the final sign, number 6.
Sixth, laziness regarding jama'ah, congregation. This is often highlighted particularly for men regarding praying in the mosque. The sources mention how seriously the Prophet, peace be upon him, took this, even threatening strong measures against those who habitually avoided praying with the community without a valid excuse.
So it's not just about individual prayer.
No, Islam is communal. The prayer in congregation strengthens the individual and the community. Avoiding it without reason is seen as neglecting a vital structure of the faith, which weakens the spiritual body overall.
Okay, so those are the 6 signs. Heaviness, showing off, delaying, rushing, lack of focus, and laziness about congregation.
Yes. And the core message is, if your life feels stuck, stressful, lacking clarity, lacking divine help, the very first place to conduct an honest self-assessment is right here, in the quality of your salat.
If we're neglecting the foundation of Taqwa.
We really can't expect Allah to intervene and solve our problems when we're treating his most fundamental command so carelessly. Okay, so we've established the prayer as the central pillar. Now, we need to take that principle we discussed earlier, leaving the useless Malaya Kani, and apply it very practically to the challenges of modern life, especially how we use our senses.
And the biggest modern challenge here, I'm guessing, is the smartphone.
Without a doubt. The mobile phone, the HP, it's become the primary battleground for our spiritual state, wouldn't you say?
It really has.
Yeah.
You mentioned a statistic earlier. The average person using it 5.5 hours a day.
That's what the sources cited for the region, yes. Think about that. Over a quarter of our waking hours potentially spent interacting with this device.
That's staggering.
It is. And that phone, in that time, can either be a tool to seriously strengthen your faith through learning, connection, remembrance, or it can completely drain it, weaken it, and even invite Allah's displeasure.
Which connects back to that quote you mentioned from Ali bin Abi Talib about the hardest acts.
Exactly. He mentioned 4 particularly challenging things, but the one most relevant here is Ifa, maintaining self-restraint, avoiding sin when you are alone, in solitude.
Ah, the solitude test. That's where the phone comes in, isn't it?
Precisely. Anyone can put on a pious face in public, at the mosque, with family around, but the real test, it's when you're alone. Just you and your screen. What do you click on? What do you watch? What conversations do you engage in?
That's where the true level of self-restraint shows.
It's revealed right there. If the content we consume in private is harmful, gossipy, sexually suggestive, or just utterly useless and time-wasting, that constant exposure slowly, steadily erodes our taqwa, chip by chip.
So the advice is to be incredibly conscious about how we use it. Make an active decision.
An active decision to use it for good, for beneficial knowledge, for Zikrullah apps, for maintaining family ties. Otherwise, it just becomes this massive engine of distraction and spiritual decay.
Okay, so guarding the eyes via the screen. What about guarding the ears? The talinga.
Another crucial area. The sources specifically warn against listening to ghibah, backbiting, gossip.
We know speaking it is forbidden, but listening.
The insight here is critical and often missed. If you are sitting there while someone is bad-mouthing another person and you just listen, maybe you even silently enjoy the juicy details.
Uh-oh.
The sources say you, the listener, share the exact same sin as the speaker.
Wow, just by listening.
If you listen passively, or, worse, enjoy it, the obligation is either to try and gently stop the gossip, change the subject, or, if you can't, to physically remove yourself from that conversation. Sitting there silently is like giving tacit approval. Enjoying it makes you a partner in the sin.
That sets a really high bar for our social interactions.
Yeah?
No passive listening to gossip.
A very high bar, yes. It requires active filtering of our environment.
Okay, eyes, ears, and then the big one, guarding the lisan, the tongue, speech.
Perhaps the most demanding discipline of all, and the guiding principle is crystal clear, non-negotiable. Falakul Khairan al Yazmut.
Speak good or remain silent.
That's it. Speak good or be quiet. Because the problem, you see, is that the more you talk, the higher the risk of slipping up.
More words, more chances for error.
Exactly. Every time we open our mouths without thinking, we risk lying, exaggerating, slandering someone, expressing envy, falling back into that ghibah. The sources even point out a correlation. People who tend to talk excessively often find they have more problems in their lives.
Why is that?
Because unnecessary talk invites complications, arguments, misunderstandings, hurt feelings. Guarding the tongue, conversely, is presented as a major gateway, a really high-impact action for receiving Allah's help and simplifying your life.
It's like a spiritual cost-benefit analysis before you even speak.
Absolutely. Before uttering a word, you should ideally run this quick mental checklist. Is my intention good? Is the content factually good and true? Is it actually beneficial to anyone? Will Allah be pleased with this?
And if you hesitate on any of those points,
the default, the safe option, the spiritually wise option is silence. Liyazmat.
What does that silence achieve, spiritually speaking?
Few key things. First, it actively prevents a potential sin from being recorded against you, thus preserving your taqwa. Simple prevention. Second, it conserves your mental and spiritual energy. energy that can then be redirected towards beneficial thoughts like zikrullah or contemplation. Silence isn't empty, it's active spiritual maintenance.
Okay, and this principle of speak good or be silent extends even to complaining. The sources mention in Gurasulo.
Yes, complaining. Whining about your difficulties, your spouse, your job, how tired you are from traveling. The sources say it's basically pointless, and it violates the speak good principle.
But hardship is real. Fatigue is real.
Of course, but how you frame it matters. If you're exhausted after a long journey or you're experiencing some pain or difficulty, Islamic teaching suggests seeing that hardship as an expiation for sins, a pengogur dosa, a means of purification.
So accept it with patience rather than complain about it.
Exactly. Accept it, perhaps even see the hidden blessing in it, rather than speaking negatively about the situation, which achieves nothing good and potentially adds a mark against you for unnecessary complaining.
We've covered a lot of the daily disciplines needed for Taqwa, controlling thoughts, senses, speech. Now, the sources seem to connect this daily effort to the bigger picture, right? To mortality, the afterlife. It involves correcting our fundamental mindset about security and fear.
That's a crucial shift. We're generally taught by the world to fear secondary causes, meaning don't primarily fear the angry dog that might bite you or the car that might hit you or the boss who might fire you. Instead, fear Allah allowing that thing to happen.
Fear the prime cause, not the immediate instrument.
Precisely. Real safety in life, true security, comes purely from Allah's protection. If you navigate a dangerous situation safely, it wasn't just your skill or luck. It was Allah actively shielding you moment by moment. Recognizing that is part of Taqwa.
So if we spend our lives excessively worrying about all these potential secondary threats,
we're essentially putting our trust, our conviction in those secondary causes. We're diminishing our reliance, our tawakkul on Allah, the primary cause. This psychological adjustment needs to be constant, pervasive.
And this perspective is especially relevant for people reaching a certain stage in life, like retirement, pensiona.
Yes, the sources frame retirement in a really positive light, not as an end or becoming useless, but as a tremendous gift, a huge opportunity.
An opportunity for what?
An opportunity for more time. More time to focus directly on strengthening that connection with Allah, building more taqwa. Often it means freedom from the pressures of the workplace, which, let's face it, can sometimes demand a certain amount of farewell. The sources use the word munafiq, hypocrisy.
Having to play politics or flatter people you don't respect just to keep your job.
Things like that. Retirement can be a liberation from those compromises, allowing for a more authentic pursuit of piety.
So it shifts the focus from worldly accumulation towards spiritual preparation.
Exactly. We're reminded constantly that this life is just a temporary stop, mampir as the term is used, just stopping by for a short while.
And if our faith is truly strong,
we should actually, in a way, look forward to the next stage, look forward to death, not with morbid fear, but with a kind of longing, a longing to finally meet our Creator, the source of all goodness.
The sources compare it to the feeling after Hajj.
Yes, like that deep longing you feel to return home after a long, arduous, but incredibly fulfilling journey like the pilgrimage, a desire to meet the one you've been striving towards.
How do we cultivate that mindset, that longing, and keep the urgency alive? It's easy to get complacent.
Through dedicated time for deep contemplation, especially in the quiet of the night, maybe during tahajjud prayer. We need to seriously reflect on the hereafter, on the eternal consequences, the reality of the Barzakh test, that intermediate state.
And that involves confronting the two possible outcomes.
Starkly confronting them. We have to really try and visualize the promises of heaven Jannah, where every righteous desire is fulfilled instantly, beyond imagination, and contrast that vividly with the terrifying descriptions of hell Jahannam.
The sources mention specifics. Boiling brains.
Boiling brains, being forced to eat the foul zaqqum fruit, skin being burned off and instantly renewed just so the torment can continue. These aren't meant to be abstract concepts. They are described to evoke a real visceral understanding of the stakes.
And this isn't just about scaring ourselves. It leads to an actionable insight.
It has to. The reflection must lead to this critical question, a question rooted in imagining future regret. If I died right now, this very second, and I arrive before Allah lacking sufficient good deeds, what would be my single, most desperate wish?
Come back.
To come back to this world, even for just one more minute. Why?
To do more good deeds. To pray better, give charity, fix relationships.
Exactly. To perform more good deeds. And here's the crucial lesson the sources hammer home. Since you are not dead yet, You still possess the very opportunity you would be desperately begging for from the grave.
Wow. That's powerful.
So the time to act is now. Seize this chance before that moment of irreversible regret arrives in the barzakh. Use the time you have left to build that taqwa.
Okay, that brings the ultimate purpose into sharp focus. To make this even more concrete, the sources address some common, practical challenges people face, showing how taqwa applies directly. Let's start with doubt, especially about big goals. Like someone young wanting to perform Umrah but feeling it's impossible because they have no money.
Yes, a very common scenario. And the answer goes right back to conviction, to prasanka, how you think about Allah. The core principle is that Hadith Qudsi, Anata nazoni abdibi. I am as my servant thinks of me.
So if I think it's impossible because my bank account is empty,
then Allah, in essence, treats your bank account as the limiting factor. You've limited his possibilities with your own thinking. The instruction is stop obsessing about the means, the money. Focus entirely on your desire, your intention, and on making yourself worthy of being invited by Allah.
being invited.
Yes, and the sources offer a fascinating observation here. If you look around, the vast majority of people who go for Umrah or Hajj don't actually pay for it entirely out of their own pocket.
Really?
Think about it. Many are funded by a spouse, or their parents pay, or their company gives it as a bonus, or some completely unexpected door opens. The point is, the means often come from unexpected places if the conviction is strong.
So focus should be on preparing the heart for the invitation, not the wallet for the payment.
Exactly. If your conviction is absolute, and you're striving in taqwa, the path will open. It might seem miraculous, but it's just the unfolding of that promise, Yaj'allahu makhraja. It works regardless of your apparent material situation.
Okay, conviction over calculation. Got it. Second practical area, dealing with things like pandemics, the COVID situation, viruses. How does taqwa guide our perspective and actions when facing a widespread health threat?
Right. Balancing faith and precaution. From the pure faith perspective, the foundation is viruses are creatures of Allah. They are his creation. They only operate according to the task.
Yeah.
He assigns them in their own way. They are just glorifying him.
Okay.
So the ultimate cause of death is never the virus itself. It's simply that a person's appointed time, their ajal, has come. Baktunya habis, the time is up. The virus is merely the siyariyat, the apparent physical means through which the decree is carried out.
So our primary fear should always be directed towards Allah, the creator of the virus, not the virus itself.
Correct. That maintains the proper hierarchy of fear, which is part of taqwa.
But, and this is a big but, this doesn't mean we reject practical safety measures, does it? Some people might mistakenly think, I only fear Allah, so I don't need masks or distancing.
That's a dangerous misunderstanding, and it goes against Islamic wisdom. Islamic jurisprudence, usul fiqh, teaches us to combine faith with reason and prudence. There's a well-established legal principle. Preventing harm, minalek kimugaratan, often takes precedence over achieving a potential benefit.
You give an example?
Sure. Refusing to shake hands during a serious epidemic isn't a sign of weak faith. It's an act of preventing potential harm, preventing transmission. And according to this principle, taking that precaution is actually a wise, responsible, and potentially rewardable action. We use the intelligence Allah gave us to navigate the physical world safely.
While keeping our ultimate trust and reliance firmly placed only in Him.
Exactly. Faith and reason work together.
Okay, that's clear. Finally, a question that comes up all the time. Consistency.
Isikuma.
Someone gains knowledge, feels inspired, but then struggles to maintain that state. It's hard to stay firm.
The eternal challenge. Because the heart, as the Prophet described it, is qalb. It turns, it fluctuates constantly, like a feather in the wind, or as another description goes, like a pot boiling over. It's inherently unstable.
So how do we keep it stable on the right path?
Since we know we can't control its fluctuations entirely on our own, we have to constantly ask the one who can control it, the turner of hearts, to keep it firm for us.
Which means relying on specific prayers.
Yes, primarily the most frequent prayer of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabit qalbi ala dinik.
O turner of hearts, keep my heart firm upon your religion.
That should be on our lips constantly, a daily, sincere plea for stability.
And the sources mentioned another powerful prayer specifically for taqwa itself.
Yes, Allahumma ati nafsi taqwaha, wa zakkiha, anta khairu man zakkaha, anta waliyuha wa wamaha.
Which translates as,
O Allah, grant my soul its taqwa and purify it, for you are the best to purify it. You are its guardian and master. It's a direct admission of dependence. We're asking Allah to grant us the very taqwa we need and to purify our souls, acknowledging that only He has the power to truly do so. We need His help even to be pious.
So consistent effort combined with constant prayer for divine assistance.
That's the formula for istiqomah. Hashtag tag outro, synthesis, and final thought.
All right, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've really turned the common definition of success on its head. True success, real ease, genuine safety, it all flows directly from Taqwa.
From that conscious commitment to piety, that awareness of Allah, it's not about worldly skills or wealth or connections or just frantically trying to fix things on our own.
The priority has to shift. Focus first on becoming worthy of Allah's help, rather than just trying to wrestle the problems into submission ourselves.
And the most immediate practical steps we can take boil down to self-purification. Two main things. First, seriously focus on eliminating sin. Sins act like this heavy, dark weight on the heart.
Making you feel restless, reluctant to do good.
Exactly. Restless, low energy, finding prayer difficult. Sin just feeds more sin and drags you down. So active repentance and avoidance is key. And second, just as vital, eliminate siyasya. All that uselessness we talked about.
Useless thoughts, useless speech, useless actions, useless screen time.
All of it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, stuck, distracted in your worship, chances are pretty high that the combined burden of unrepented sin and accumulated uselessness is weighing down your spirit.
So clearing that out is the fastest way to feel lighter spiritually and to open those doors for divine help.
That's the direct path indicated by the sources. Lighten the load, increase the taqwa, and expect the makhraja, the way out.
Okay, so we want to leave you, our listener, with a final, practical, maybe challenging thought. It comes directly from that principle. Min husni islamil mari tarku malayakani. A sign of good Islam is leaving the useless.
The challenge is this. If you were to do a really honest, ruthless spiritual audit of your life right now, what is one specific thing? One non-beneficial activity?
Could be a recurring negative thought pattern.
Or a specific way you waste time on your phone.
Or a habit of complaining or useless chatter.
What is one concrete thing you know is useless that you could commit to starting to eliminate right now, today?
Because that small, consistent act of abandoning even one piece of uselessness
is an immediate practical step towards greater taqwa, and therefore a step towards unlocking that guaranteed ease and divine help we've been discussing. Give it some thought.